Welcome to another episode of Shop Talk. We've got a guest today that's going to visit and kind of give you some insight into his way on making the WCB team. Mr. Travis Swenson of Riverton, Utah. He's been shoeing for about 25 years, and we're really excited to have him. So we've got with us Travis Swenson. Travis is 42 years old. He's made the WCB team for the year 2014. He had to make the team through 2013. He's been shoeing for about 25 years. Travis, you've been in and out of shoeing. I've known you since '93. I met you up there at Calgary, and we've been in and out of it. And then why now? It seems like you definitely had a game plan in 2013 to try and make the team.
Well, in the beginning, I was young and had a really good teacher by the name of Shuen Contests. I was running the gauntlet with him. I worked for him for about 5 years through an apprenticeship program with him. He is my uncle, so of course I chose him, and plus he's one of the best there is. On top of that, then life kind of took over. We had some family changes. It was time to stay home, raise a young family, and a wife, and move on with that part of my life. The eagerness soon came back after the family got a little bit older. Unfortunately, so did I get a little bit older.
So you got two girls in college right now?
2 girls in college, one in third year college, number 2's in first year college, and then I got number 3 is in she's 16,
so she's still in high school.
Yeah.
So what, like I say, you had a game plan. What are you thinking about what's going through your head when you want to make the team? What do you think about making the WCB team?
First of all, I don't think about making the team. I think about doing the best work that I possibly can based on what the past has given me through competing. And in the beginning, shoeing horses, all of it comes together when you go to a competition. Also, when you leave a competition and you go back to work, it all comes together again. They work hand in hand. And it's the education of it all that strives me to keep going.
So Shuen Contests and going to Shuen Contests and helping Shane whenever he was getting ready for a Shuen Contest, that was kind of your intro into the horseshoeing world. You were involved with that. Tell us a little bit more about how Shuen Contests help your business.
Shuen Contests help your business through, they're both manual practices. You have to practice for a contest. You have to, unfortunately, you're not necessarily practicing to go to work every day. Every day by doing it, you are practicing to become better, whether you realize it or not. If you think 5 seconds out of the box when you have a problem on a horse's foot, you are practicing for the next time this happens, or when you come back and what you see is the results of your last shoeing and you don't like it, then you change. So you're practicing within each time you shoe a foot. Horseshoeing contests are the same way, other than you're in a shop, you make the same shoes over and over again to get better at them. No different than shoeing horses. So they're both practices that needed to be replicated from time to time to get better at them. Also, what you see in a horseshoeing contest, if you've never been to one, you see a bunch of iron laid down on that's warm or hot, on a cold piece of anvil or on an anvil with tools that are driven into it. If you don't know anything about it, probably for no apparent reason whatsoever, but there are reasonings behind it. And there are reasonings behind it for the fact that there's a horse's foot that this has to go on. So that's the first step of comparing the two of them. These are horseshoes that belong on horses' feet.
Yeah, I think that's the separation that people make, is that they think that you're just making horseshoes that just go into the abyss, and they all end with the end result is the judge's specimen is set up to where you're trying to think through that judge's eyes is why he makes these feet, these shapes, and the nail placement all the way. Then you kind of get an idea of what they think of balance and shoeing and trimming.
Exactly right. I agree with that. I think that, we see a lot of different types of horseshoes. Yeah, that's fine and dandy. We see a lot of different types of feet with different types of problems. So that's the reason there's so many different types of shoe. Somebody had an opinion somewhere, somehow, to invent a new shoe to help this problem. The point of the whole idea of horseshoeing contest is to look through all the fabricated baloney that's on the outside of a horse's foot and that's on the outside of a shoe, and look through it to the basics. Yeah. The foot has to have the basics, the horseshoe has to have the basics. When them two unify together, you have the best job that you can possibly do.
Tell us a little bit about your apprenticeship. You've come into it a little bit different. A lot of people apprentice for people, and it's not in, it's in, they don't even see that side of it, and it's a kind of a dark side. But it was part of everyday apprenticeship with you. Shane would be gone to a contest, or you guys would be getting ready for a contest. Was that different in your eyes than shoeing horses, or was that part of shoeing horses?
That was part of shoeing horses. The reason I say that is when Shane was gone and he was out competing, or he was on the team and he was gone away, he would come back and even with the other guys there that were on the team, and they would talk about England, and they would talk about how their curricular is as far as school goes and whatnot, and their educational program. It was always wrapped around, it had to be around 10 years. If you wanted to make the top line, you had to do something for 10 years as far as an apprenticeship program went. I went as close to that as I possibly could, and I was dang close to 10 years apprenticing between the two, Dave Carter and Shane Carter. Now, with Shane being gone and coming back, it always breathed life into him. We just weren't doing the same thing every day. You come back and you'd see him, he'd glow, and it was just like it was fun to shoe all over again. It brought that excitement back.
Oh yeah, yeah. So do you feel that helped you as far as everything you've learned from him? Do you carry that over into your business right now?
Yes, I do. I carry a lot of Shane over into my business, and a lot of what he did as far as competing, because I got to stand and watch, and I was part of it as an apprentice program, or being an apprentice. What he did when he come back, I don't know that he voluntarily just showed it to me, or it was just part of the practice and I just picked it up. I can't say which way that works.
But you make a lot of tools, right?
I make a lot of tools. That's because I was standing on one side of the anvil striking for him, making tools. Through that, I just learned. That's your apprentice program. It's not necessarily what's said, because usually if you're talking, you're not listening. That's the way I was taught.
And so you make knives. You make just about everything you've got, except like commercial things like nippers and
sure. And I've dabbled in all that, and I've done that too. Not for sale, not for anything like that. Just for my own personal wanting the ability to do it.
Because Shane's favorite saying is, "Own your trade, so your trade doesn't own you." And it's like one of those things where it sticks with you. It makes so much sense. It's not even funny. So you feel like you own a big part of your trade?
I own my trade, as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to say I own part of it. I want to say that I own it because I'm doing it, and I've done a lot of it.
So when you're going around to contests and clinics, do you think that the benefits outweigh the cost of going to these events?
Sure. In all of history, if you look at any type of knowledge, it was either traded for something, or as today, you pay to go to college or you pay to go to shoeing school. Well, you have to enter up in these things. That's just part of it. And there's money running up and down the road. But the basis of it all is you have to pay for knowledge. Knowledge is not free. So if you want to further your career and be a better horseshoer and be better for the horse, you need to further your education. Right now, we further our education through competing.
So did you think at one time that you might got a leg up because you were working for Shane, that you were going to be on the team or something because you were? Did you think you had a shortcut? Did you have to end around everything?
I think in the beginning I thought I had a little of a shortcut, and I thought, this is going to be. I might have thought I had something over on somebody. There's no shortcuts. I can tell you that right now. I've been doing this for a long time, and there is no shortcuts. You pay the dues all the way along, and there's a reason for that. If you were to skip a step, you would lose part of that basics. So you'd have to start all over again at that step.
Oh yeah, you see on Facebook. I bring it up all the time, but there's people who've won contests and just they win contests, and people say, yeah, that guy's pretty handy. Well, do you think someone's handy, or do you think when they win a contest that they put some effort and time into that?
I think they put some effort and time into it. Nobody's got so-called God's gift to everything, and I don't think that anybody who's been doing this long enough knows that at one time or another in their life, and especially in the beginning, they had to put a pile of effort into it. Yeah, right now, in Shane's later years, he probably didn't have to practice as much as he did in the beginning to go to a contest, because he could rely on the past and the knowledge that he gained in the past by taking the first step and going to contest to further his education.
What kind of advice do you got for people? It doesn't matter if they're 55, never been to a contest, or 18, never been to a contest. What kind of advice would you give to people who want to get into competing?
Well, if you're thinking about getting into competing, no matter what age you are, obviously you've already gotten over yourself. And that's the first thing about competing is you got to step into a world where people can watch you and you can be judged by your peers. That is how you learn. If you stay at home and just think you're the best, well, you might be the best in your mind and you might not know what you're doing wrong. So step out there and, it may be good the first time, it may not be so good. But at least you're trying, and that's the whole idea of it, is try harder.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, is to step outside yourself. And half the battle is if you can say you want to go to a competition, that's a step in the right direction.
Huge. It's huge.
Travis, have you ever done a job that you were totally happy with at a competition?
No. Nor have I had done one on a horse that just made me say, whoa, that's the perfect job. We do the best with the skills that we have. We're scrutinized through people that compete and through the public that we work for. The public that we work for, they have somewhat of an insight, but it's just tapping the outside of the knowledge. So we put up with that. But when we're scrutinized by
your peers,
our peers or people that compete, it takes on its own form. You're like, well, these guys know something, so we better pay attention and figure out what it is so we can be better.
I know that at an end of a live show and go, you'll have 40 feet, and it'll be just almost like a giant convention. Everybody's walking around. They want you to come look at their foot so they can, Dirk has come by and said, what do you think of my foot? I think what's neat about that is when you get 8, 9 different people that critique your foot, they give you a lot of the same answers, which that gives you confidence to go in that direction. Like if one person tells you one thing and another person tells you another thing, you kind of left, what do I do? But when you have 8 people on the floor that tell you, I would have come a little bit tighter on the inside, a little longer on the outside. Right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I think that when you as the contest goes on, and especially in the shoeing part of it, you'll see congregation of where the job is right, and the people just kind of flow to it.
Exactly.
And so if you're not working, you're part of that crowd, and you're looking so that you can learn how to be better. If you've already gone, well, you get it in the next competition. If you're getting ready to go, you're looking and trying to see any aspect of that shoeing job to better yourself. So when your turn's on the foot. Now, if you're the last to go, or the winning shoe or the winning foot was during your go, when you put your foot down, what goes through my mind is I did the best that I could with that. I'm pretty proud of that. Now, whether that's number 1 or not, I don't know. But I have a good feeling about it.
Yeah, and then the mob kind of takes over, don't they?
Yeah, and if they don't come to your foot and they're headed to somebody else's foot, you're like, dadgummit, maybe next time.
Exactly. And you know what? That's a necessary evil, I'll tell you what. So Travis, you've been shooting for about 25 years. You started off with competing with Shane and you got introduced to it. Then you took about a 9-year hiatus and you didn't compete. And now you're back at it again. What did you think about that 9 years that you really didn't compete?
Well, for me, horseshoeing became a job. I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't getting any outside influence. And when somebody doesn't have any outside influence, I think you just get stuck in this rut. And it becomes like you're on an assembly line. You're going out there busting your back. Yeah, you're bringing home $1 or $2, and you're making a way for a family. But you don't have any influence to go. You lose the wow factor. You don't get to look at your feet in different ways as you do through contests and through other people's eyes and have them look through their eyes or through your eyes at their work too. So it's a split way. You want to stay home, you take care of your family, you move on, family grows up. It's time to get back into competing so I can get that wow back, because I ain't getting no younger and I still love shoeing horses. I love shoeing horses because of competition.
So Travis, you kind of had an area where you didn't compete much, you didn't go out much, and now you're back. What do you see the differences are?
When you don't compete and you're not out there where there's always a test. Now, granted, shoeing horses is a test, but part of that test and part of that skill is the ability to drive yourself further. When you don't compete and you don't get out there and get judged on your abilities, you lose that skill. And it just becomes another job. You can't see anything wrong, or you can see it and you just let it go by the wayside. when I come back to competing, there was a few things I got slacked on. I'm no different than anybody else. And if anybody else says they don't get slacked on stuff, they're up in the night, because they do. But when I come back to competing, them things that I might have been slacked on, I'm like, no, this ain't playing ball. We're going to start over, whatever it takes. We're going to finish this job. We're going to do it right if we have to start all over again.
So quality control tightens up a bit.
You bet. Bar none.
Well, and I mean, we had talked about it, but like I visualize having a little posse that goes around with me, and when I do something that I think don't fly, I'm hurt. And Shane came down to help me with my horses, and he would be mad at me if he saw me do this. You know what I mean? That drives me a lot.
And that's part of the competing did that to you. That keeps that little guy on your shoulder saying, "Hey, Craig, do it right."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's what competition does for you. It doesn't let you fail yourself.
We really appreciate having Travis come down and visit with us about his first year on the team, and I'm sure we're going to interview him after the year too and see how he thought it all panned out. But if you want to be on here, we'd love to hear your opinions and voices, and remember, because everybody's opinion is a necessary evil.